Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Climate Change AI webinar series. My name is Arthur Waknin. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at McGill University and at MILA in Montreal, Canada. And I'm also part of the Climate Change AI team, and I'm mostly working on the workshop series. For those of you attending your first event from Climate Change AI, we're an initiative that fosters impactful work at the intersection of climate change and machine learning by providing educational and infrastructure, community building, and advancing discourse in this area. CCAI conducts various initiatives to disseminate knowledge at the intersection of climate change and AI. We offer digital resources and coordinate a range of events, including summer schools, conferences, workshops, webinars, and meetups. We provide grants to support the establishment of programs. We are actively engaged in policy conferences to foster discussions. Additionally, we bring together a vibrant community that stays informed through regular updates via our newsletter. For more details, you can visit our website, climatechange.ai. By joining our community platform, you will gain access to valuable information from CCAI and have the opportunity to connect with people interested in various fields of application. Our blog posts are available to everyone and cover a wide range of topics, including research application and presentations from our team. If you're interested in what we do, you can follow us on Twitter or register to our newsletter, where you will have various updates about conferences, funding opportunities, recent projects and articles, and job opportunities. To make this webinar interactive, please connect to the associated Slido link. You will be able to ask your question on this platform and upvote for your favorite ones. The question with a higher number of upvotes will be more likely to be asked. This webinar will be organized as follows. Dr. Dina Machuve will have 45 minutes to present, and it will be followed by a 45 minutes Q&A session at the end. So add your question in Slido, and we'll try our best to process them as we go. Without further ado, let's introduce our speaker. So welcome, Dina Machuve. So Dina is an applied machine learning practitioner from Tanzania, and her work focuses on developing data-driven solutions for agriculture and health. So we're really happy to have you here today. Thank you very much for joining this webinar, and I will leave you the floor now.
Thank you so much for having me. Really look forward to having a very good conversation over the webinar today. I'm Dina Machuve, as introduced earlier, and I'm going to share with you the topic that I'm currently working on. It's work in progress on the machine learning approach for chicken diseases diagnostics at farm level. Currently, I work full-time for Dev Data Analytics based in Arusha, Tanzania, which is a data science startup company where we work towards developing data-driven solutions for agriculture and health. I also volunteer my time at Data Science Africa, which is a non-profit organization that focuses on developing capacity in data science and machine learning at universities in different countries in Africa. We understand that the data science and machine learning curriculum in many universities is still lagging behind. So we normally organize annual summer school and workshops. I teach and mentor, and the project that I'm presenting is actually incubated under the Women in Tech and AI program, which is hosted at the Moroccan International Center of Artificial Intelligence. So the agenda for the talk today is that I'll provide a background on livestock and focusing on poultry farming in Africa with particular focus in Tanzania. And the challenges which are linked to climate change, I will discuss them, and also what approach, what initiative we have towards developing an end-to-end solution towards addressing the challenge on health, on poultry health. It's an ongoing project, so I will also cover what the next steps we have on the work. This is an overview of the poultry sector, which is quite important, very important in Africa and Tanzania in particular. And here we see the numbers. We have over 2.1 billion chickens in Africa, out of which 36 million are in Tanzania. And households which really rely on chickens in Tanzania are 4.6 million. So it really shows how important chickens are for the welfare of many families. And in Africa, Tanzania ranks third in terms of the total livestock numbers. However, the productivity is quite low. So there are different priority actions towards improving the poultry sector. And the one that we address through this work is mainly focused on how do we deliver extension services and veterinary services at farm level, close to the farmers. When we look onto the importance of chickens, the role of chickens in different households in Africa is actually the most affordable food security crop in terms of egg production and meat. That's the most affordable for many families. And also the chick incubation is also relevant because it's quite a very relevant business case where people produce chicks, and it's a very thriving business area. And also in terms of the business owners, majority of the business owners in the poultry sector are youth and women, which is really aligned to these four goals of the SDG, that it improves human nutrition and it's the most affordable food source of protein for many families. And with children consuming eggs on daily basis or even once or twice a week, it really improves the mental health and hence which translates to better education performance for these children. And also the Food and Agriculture Organization really has initiatives towards better management of livestock to reduce livestock emissions by up to 30%. And the poultry sector is quite relevant because of all the livestock, types of livestock, it has the minimum emissions when it comes to the greenhouse gases. But still, when it comes to the developing countries, there is a very much need for better management practices. So the livestock sector contributes significantly to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. The three gases from livestock system, the one which is leading is methane, and also we have carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide that really exert impact on global warming and temperature increases. According to the IPCC 6th assessment report, the livestock production contributes 12% to the human-induced greenhouse gas emissions. On the fourth IPCC assessment report, this figure was at 14.5%, and on the fifth one, it was 14.8%. So really, to understand the impact and find appropriate solutions, we really must consider the different emission sources and also the variation in product emission intensity, which is associated with the products, which could be milk, meat, or eggs, or protein. So this graphic shows the livestock production chain and also the different sources of emissions, which are the upstream, on farm as well as downstream. And according to the GLIM, the Global Livestock Environmental Assessment Model, the third one, the greenhouse gas emissions contributed by species, we really see that the cattle ranks the highest at 65%, and we have poultry here at 10%. But really, this considers all the supply chain processes, which include the land use, feed production, animal production, the processing and transportation. So really, cattle are a key contributor to the global emissions, and we really see here poultry being at 10%. Furthermore, the magnitude of this contribution depends also on the type of livestock product, whether it's milk, meat, or eggs. And again, here we really see the chickens ranking the lowest, but still it hasn't reached that target set by the FAO of 30%. And also, not only this variation is attributed to the type of livestock products, but also there we can see also regional variation, with South Asia leading when it comes to the to beef, and Russia here. We see sub-Saharan Africa at this point when contributing more on cow's milk. And chicken in general is quite minimum, and that's really the motivation for making efforts to improve the management practices in this poultry sector. However, the livestock production systems are quite inefficient, and not efficient in developing countries, the lower and middle income countries. They have very low productivity. And this is attributed to poor quality feeds, breeds don't have good production potential, and also health challenges, and which really this translates to higher emission intensities from this region. However, there is potential to improve the efficiency of livestock production and definitely reduce emissions that are associated to climate change. And one area of improvement is animal health, in order to increase the productivity and reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. And however, the calculations for the greenhouse gas emissions in the lower and middle income countries do not allocate the traction for power for crop systems, insurance and savings, as well as the social cultural roles. So this study contributes to the efforts in addressing the health challenges from chickens. And the challenges are there, that the productivity is very low due to diseases. Farmers at times, they really lose up to 100% of their flock to diseases. And majority of the farmers are in small scale, which means they keep 10 up to 400 chickens. And all the data for their management of their farms is maintained mainly manually on paper notebooks. And we don't have good data on poultry, because it's majority of it is manual. And these farmers are supported by agricultural extension officers who visit them at farms. But again, they're very few. One extension officer saves up to 1,500 farmers a year here in Tanzania. So we really see there is a motivation and to make efforts to provide these agriculture extension officers with tools to be able to support or to support farmers at farm level, and even farmers that have smartphones could also be able to diagnose these three common diseases. Salmonella, Newcastle disease, and coccidiosis are common chicken diseases. And they are monitored using lab procedures, using the chicken dropping samples, but it takes 3 to 4 days to get the results. And also at farm level, these extension officers use clinical signs because these laboratories are mainly available in cities, and they're quite expensive for many farmers to afford. So actually access to these laboratory services is limited to many farmers. So when we had this conversation, in our team, we have a veterinarian who really said these 3 diseases could be early diagnosed at farm level using chicken droppings. So as a machine learning practitioner, what kind of data set will make more sense, and how are you going to deploy this solution to farmers? So that's when we look onto the what kind of media we can use, and really the mobile phone stood out because we have a very high penetration rate. Currently, it's at 72.4 million mobile phone subscriptions in Tanzania, more than the population of 60 million that we currently have. But that really means people have more than two phone lines. Yeah. And also the internet subscriptions is quite over 50% at 36.7 million internet subscriptions. And in Africa, there are 515 million unique subscriptions. This was the records of 2022, which is really projected to be almost double this number when we reach 2050. And also, the motivation of using image data is also attributed to the fact that we have low levels of literacy among farmers, and we have multiple languages. So really, images were more potential as the data set to use in deploying this solution for detecting the diseases. So we set off to this project with 3 objectives. And the data set was not there for the chicken dropping, and which was really the main data set to use for diagnosing the diseases. So we had to generate the data set and curate it before we do the modeling. And our goal was to establish an annotated data set and a model for detecting the 3 poultry diseases at farm level, which were Salmonella, Newcastle disease, and coccidiosis. So this is the workflow that we used. The first step was to generate this data set of poultry chicken dropping images, and stage annotated, where we use agricultural experts and veterinarians at farm level to actually annotate the data set. And after that, we stored the data on the cloud, and then definitely the machine learning stage starts on the step 3. So we used the Open Data Kit, which is also an open source. Open Data Kit is an open source mobile application for collecting data at field level. It could be images, could be audio, could be text data. I think it was developed by the MIT. It's a very handy tool to for field data collection. So we developed this form where you were able to, when you're at the farm, you're able to take a picture and be able to label it after training with the agriculture experts guidance. The enumerators here at the farm are able to take in the photos of the chicken dropping and label it and be able to submit it to submit the data onto the images. We collected the data for about a year. It took us 1 year from 2019 to 2020 to establish this data set. So it is a labor-intensive process, and you really have to physically go to the farm to take the photos. We had to get the ethical clearance through the local authorities to be able to visit these farms, and we used the agricultural extension officers and veterinarians when visiting these farms. There was one disease, the salmonella, which during that period was quite a challenge to locate this disease at different farms. So we requested for ethical clearance to inoculate chickens with the disease and be able to collect the images of the chicken droppings. It really needs ethical clearance because after we complete the data collection, because they were diseased, they had to be disposed properly, even the eggs destroyed, and also making sure that the farm is properly fumigated to avoid spread of diseases to nearby farms. Now, furthermore, to establish the data set, we had a set of data that was annotated at farm level, but we also collected samples that we took to the laboratory to perform the PCR, polymerase chain reaction diagnostics, to annotate the data set using the laboratory procedure. And this is what we call a high quality labeled data set. As you can see, it's quite a few, 1,255 images, because it's a very expensive process. The reagents for PCR are quite expensive. So this is the data set that we were able to curate at the end of the 1 year. See, the one that was labeled, the data set that was labeled at farm level, it was amounted to 6,812, and the laboratory labeled using the PCR process amounted to 1,255. This data set is online and available on the Zenodo platform. To curate the data set, that is step 2. This really involved annotation for the different modeling tasks that we were embarking on. For image classification, we had the 4 classes: healthy, Newcastle, salmonella, and coccidiosis. And for image classification, we used the color and shape of the fecal images were really the main features. We didn't collect data on the clinical signs for these particular data sets. We only considered the images of the chicken droppings. For object detection, we annotated the data set using the computer vision annotation tool, CVAD, which is also open source, and we exported the bounding boxes in COCO format. Furthermore, for image classification, we processed the images using the image data generator class on Keras, and we trained the data set we used for training consisted of both. We mixed the farm and laboratory labeled fecal images, and the test data set was only the farm labeled images, because this is actually what the farmers will use at the farm. So we didn't include on the test set the laboratory labeled speckle images. For object detection, we use the RoboFlow. The object detection training is ongoing. We use the RoboFlow in the free environment, so we didn't load the whole data set. And we used only the farm labeled fecal images. It's ongoing. We are going to improve it and also add more images. So the first output on image classification was we trained the models using the baseline of the deep CNN, the convolutional neural network model. We developed it as a baseline model, and then we used the transfer learning architectures, the VGT16, Inception V3, MobileNet V2, and Exception to train the model for image classification task. Our goal here was really proof of concept that such a model can be deployed on smartphones and help these farmers be able to distinguish disease from healthy poultry based on the fecal images. And the model performance was good. We checked for the accuracy without fine-tuning for the 4 architectures, and for the transfer learning models, the 4 transfer learning models, we fine-tuned the model and we got the accuracy here. We did the fine-tuning as well with frozen batch normalization. And here, as you can see, the ones with the highest accuracy was the exception model, followed by the MobileNet V2. So those were really, and also we had the F1 scores for each class here on each architecture. And these were the results, the initial results on object detection. And we see these are the training loss, the curves, and it is quite good, but we need to improve so that we are really able to reach the smooth curve which has been shown here. But at least there is hope that using real life data, we are able to get the results. And we trained only with a batch of about 1,000 images for object detection. And the confusion matrix here on the test images shows quite good on the true, on the diagonal here, and the confusion matrix, we really see it performing quite well on the 200 test images. We have quite a higher number of false positives compared to the false negatives. And this background class is added automatically, which really counts for images that have no objects that are normally added to a data set to reduce the false positives. And the split was 60% training, 20 testing, and 20 validation. But again, as I said here, we only used 1,000 images to train the model for object detection. We are working towards improving it so that we can remove these false positives. We have deployed the object detection model on Hugging Face, and we're continuing to test it, and we're working towards improving it. And we had to make we had to decide which model we're going to deploy on the image classification. We had MobileNet V2 that was equally had good accuracy, 98.02, but Exception had 98.24. So because our goal is to deploy it on smartphones, we saw that MobileNet V2 was lighter, 10 times lighter than the Exception model. So we made the decision to use the MobileNet V2 for deployment on smartphones. But this was the image classification task. And that was the decision, and we worked towards how we can improve it. And currently for the image classification task, we are working towards as well to test more models and see which one performs better. But this was our proof of concept using the image classification task. And when we went onto the field, the feedback was that when you take the photo of the fecal image at the farm level, there's quite a lot of deep litter. Okay, so if we could assist this farmer to only focus the area of focus of the fecal image, I try as much as possible to isolate the background, and that became a motivation for us to actually do the object detection work, which we are currently undertaking. And this is the deployment of the image classification, the MobileNet V2 model on smartphones, and we tested it on Android environment. And here you are able to see that it was able to diagnose the coccidiosis at 100% for this particular disease when we deployed it. And here, this is the initial work on object detection. As you can see here, this is the typical environment at the farm. You see, this is the deep litter. So that was feedback we got, was that can you really isolate so that the farmer can really see what disease is there. And the other feedback we got is really to use local language. We use Kiswahili mainly in Tanzania. So the feedback we got, can we have all these menus and all these identification in the local language? So that is what we are working on. And this mobile application will not only assist the farmer to diagnose disease, but will have a knowledge base as well to be able to be guided on what they can discuss, what measures can they take, because this is early detection. And at the farm, when you enter a farm, there are many chickens, and we're working with the vet to know at what ratio of the fecal images. So we have to provide a very good guide to these farmers that not only one image can assist you to rule out that your flock has a certain disease, or you have signs of this particular disease, or they're healthy. So we're working with the vet to really be able to understand, like, how many chickens does this farmer have, and when they use the tool, be guided accordingly, that if you have 10 chickens or you have 50 chickens, how many images do you take in order to be able to make the right decision that you have early signs of a particular disease. So we're working towards those dynamics with vets in order to be able to come with a proper guideline for this farm to guide them properly. And once this tool is ready, we will also go and test with extension officers and veterinarian officers before it's actually released for production to be used really, because they're very quite strict guides on how ethically you can guide a farmer properly. And that's why you really said it is more of a knowledge base as well, that you are able to detect early a certain disease, but at what proportion, depending on the number of chickens that the farmer has. So we need to have an interface to be able to guide this farmer accordingly to use the tool. And again, we have to do all the deployment in local languages. When the detection is done, the display here has to, because NCD stands for Newcastle disease, is still in English. So that's what we are working on, the next step. To optimize the models for production, we've started to really work towards optimizing the object detection model. We trained on YOLO V8. the initial results that we presented, but we want to add more data sets. And also we need to do quite a lot of field training for farmers and agriculture extension officers to use the application once it's ready. And our big vision is really to be able to use the images of chicken droppings and use visual diagnosis that does not require laboratory procedure. But again, this is research. We need to get feedback to be able to measure the impact of what is the productivity level of farmers that use this tool, and what is the productivity level of farmers that do not use this tool. So we're working towards also having a feedback mechanism that will be able to capture this data. It's quite challenging because the environment we work on is that we have limited internet access to internet, and we equally want to be able to use this as also a data sourcing mechanism, that when the farmers take photos, images at their farm, they should be able to feedback so that we can be able to have an updated data set. So it also be a crowdsourcing mechanism so that we can be able to update the models from time and time again. So thank you so much. That's the talk I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dina. That was a really nice talk, really interesting, a lot of topics. Thank you very much again. So we have a few questions there that are really interesting. So first of all, first question is the following. Since the diseases are detected with fecal images from chicken, it seems difficult to assess which chicken is sick if the disease is detected. Do you know how the chickens are treated afterwards? It seems you're muted. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good question, and that's why for example, there's one disease of the three diseases. There's one which is called Newcastle disease, which really, if we could check on the slides, it's the one that has quite the smallest number of data set, or the smallest number of images. If chickens contract that disease, they die very fast. So we are working towards at least establishing like a rapid response system that once you detect early the diseases, do you call the nearest agriculture extension officer, and also be able to take a few measures at the farm. Okay, so we want to be able to document it as a question and answer in Kiswahili on the app, so that the farmer can retrieve and be able to know. And if it's treatment, we are not supposed to advise it on through the app, but we will have a directory of the nearest agriculture extension officers who can provide further advice. Ethically, we are not allowed to give any kind of treatment advice through the app. We can only give the general good farming practices when such a disease is detected. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, the next question is, how did you get in contact with agriculture experts, and what is the process of communication between you as an AI practitioner and the agriculture experts?
Okay, thank you so much. When I started this project, I was at the university, the Nelson Mandela African Institution of Science and Technology, working in the information and communication science. and then we have the life sciences. So, and we have, we also have the Livestock Training Institute here in Arusha, and that's really the interface. Because as an AI practitioner, and it was really a good learning curve. It was a steep one, but even when we were collecting the data, farmers trust and really are more comfortable communicating with the agriculture extension officers. So we built capacity on the agriculture extension officers on how to use the mobile app to collect the data. And with the time, they also build trust. So it's really the main interface with farmers is the agriculture extension officers. So we really believe as AI practitioners, those are our domain experts in this endeavor, and we work very closely with them in every stage. Yeah. And we are working because we collected the data in 2 regions, so we have established that communication. We have a very good network, and normally we even had a workshop, several of them, to show them what AI means and what it really means, and they're really able to translate it to the local languages in a very simple manner as possible. Yes, so that they are our domain experts, and we will really work very closely with them. Yes.
Thank you very much. That's really interesting. I think so the next question is more around, let's say, the product or the model. It's more about the data themselves, actually. Have you thought about the differences between different cameras that will be used by farmers' phones, and potentially also the different lighting conditions that could maybe affect the results?
Exactly. That's a very good question. Initially, actually, as an AI practitioner, we were sort of using very high quality cameras when collecting the data. But when we thought about the end solution, we want to deliver an end-to-end solution for these farmers, we really use normal smartphones, normal cheap phones. So even the images are not very high quality, but they're really sufficient. So we are really sure that the solution will work at farm level. So even for collecting the data set, we use the same cost-effective mobile phones, less than $100 to collect the data set. Yeah, so we are sure that the devices we use are the ones that will definitely be used at farm level. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so there is another question here. Are you tracking GPS location to inoculate the farm when the disease is detected?
Yes, we do. But we have not released that data on open source. Yeah, we have that, and we're working towards at least developing maps where we'll be able to locate every farmer, and then eventually be able to map even where the agriculture extension services are. We are collecting GPS data. Yeah.
Okay, yes, that's a good information. So there is another question. I think you already answered to it, but I think it's interesting. So it's have you planned to collect and annotate more data in various contexts to improve the robustness of your model? So you indicate that you wanted to, as we say, put the human in the loop, like collecting data from people in the field. And have you planned to potentially annotate those data as well and trying to retrain your model potentially?
Exactly, we do have that plan. Yeah, but again, because this data will come from the farmers, we are working towards having that procedure really get a buy-in to be able to crowdsource this data so that we can be able to retrain the models. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So there is another question. I think you also mentioned that, but it would be interesting to have more of your opinion around that. So you said that the model is going to be embedded in the smartphone, meaning that the application will be quite heavy, if it can be, but you did a quite smart model selection as well, considering this limitation. But are there like any limitation which could be related to the internet access of farmers to download the app? Meaning, like for sure, they might have some limitation around that could limit the access of the application.
You're very correct. We have those limitations of internet access. However, we're working towards on the app. We're working towards having some services being available offline. Like the farmer should be able to still be able to diagnose the disease even without internet. So we're working towards having a model that can be served on the phone, and so we are working towards that approach. And also for the data that they will be able to collect, it should remain on the phone, and when they have internet access, it will be synchronized with the server. So we're working towards that on mechanisms on how to really optimize what services can be available offline and which ones can be available online. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So there is another question here. So the question is the following. Have you considered generative AI to automatically translate multiple languages in the application automatically? So I think the person will ask about probably ChatGPT or any other AI-based models that could potentially create this translation for you.
Yes, we are working towards that, and actually we are using the OpenAI 3.5 to develop the question and answer, which we have so far. We've completed the one on advice for diseases. The vet has cleared that text, so we're working towards developing a question and answering. For the farm advisory service. Of when you've diagnosed the disease, what do you do? That part is actually handled by generative AI. Yeah, and it will be in Kiswahili, and the OpenAI performs very well on Kiswahili. So that's what is work in progress. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. So that was our last question. Thank you again for being here today and for your amazing talk. That was really interesting. Thank you everyone also for attending today. So if you want more information about our next events, please follow and just register to our newsletter, and we will for sure share with you all our next event. So thank you again for being here today, and have a nice day. Bye everyone.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dina.